So greetings everybody. It is a cold, wet, slightly rainy day and I have a bit of a headache, which normally would be a problem, but this is actually kind of the perfect hike for it. We're going to go up Poet's Seat, which is actually a short hike, so we're actually going to hike the other way for a while first to sort of check it out, and we should probably get going. So it looks like to start, the trailhead going away from Poet's Seat is somewhere across this actually surprisingly busy road. Indeed it was. It was across the street. You can't really see it. It's back there. It's across the street and then over by this little sign. Not that far at all. It was raining as I first got started, which was actually fine. The gray moodiness for this hike worked well. The Poet's Seat, our ultimate destination, is named after Frederick Goddard Tuckerman, a product of the Romantic era who is largely forgotten today. In 1860, when he published his first and only book, perhaps unimaginatively named Poems, he received a confused response because many of his friends and acquaintances among the New England literati didn't even know he was a serious writer. Tuckerman's book was only a mild success. The response from his transcendentalist and romantic friends like Emerson, Very, and the Longfellows said that they saw potential in his work. Only Nathaniel Hawthorne seems to have actually enjoyed the book in its entirety. That said, most saw moments of brilliance, particularly in his collection of sonnets. They praised his close observation of nature. Later, he would be described as a writer of herbariums, closely observed descriptions of the smaller elements of nature. One thinks of his epic poem on the subject of beans, coffee beans, for example. This may be his happiest work, though probably not technically his best. The bean, the garden bean I sing, lima, mazagan, late and early, bush, butter, black eye, pole and string, esculent, annual, planted yearly. Sure, here a poet well might fare, nor vaguely his invention worry. I shake my head in flat despair, or out and over the hills I hurry. So I just stopped to put on my my micro spikes. I don't know why I didn't do that at the car, but it's sort of funny. Like, this whole thing is like a traffic island. I mean, it's a ridge, but definitely the one I saw from the highway. But it's surrounded by roads, which you can just, maybe you can hear them. Not everything was easy in Tuckerman's life. He was given to moodiness and a certain discontent with the world. Though he and his family were well connected, he retreated to Deerfield, Massachusetts, where this seat, actually a castle folly, now sits overlooking the town. There his wife died in 1857, and grief consumed him. His poetry, already dark, became darker. Sonnet 22. The morning comes, not slow with reddening gold, but wildly driven with windy shower and sway, as though the wind would blow the dark away. Voices of wail, of misery multifold, wake with the light, and its harsh glare obey. And yet I walk betimes this day of spring, still my own private portion reckoning, not to compute, though every tear be told. Oh, might I on the gale my sorrow fling, but sweep on, wild blast, who bids thee stay. Across the stormy headlands shriek and sing, and earlier than the daytime bring the day, to pouring eyes, half quenched with watery sight, and breaking hearts that hate the morning light. So most of the views so far are the sort where you're like, wow, this was probably really pretty before the trees grew up.
You get a lot of that when you're hiking. People are like, oh yeah, no, this is kind of a nice obscured view, but this here actually would be a great view, you know, if it wasn't cold and wet and raining. Either way, I think I'm almost as far on this part as we're gonna go, but I guess we'll see.
Sonnet 27. So to the mind long brooding, but on it, a haunting theme for anger, joy, or tears. With ardent eyes not what we think appears, but, hunted home, behold its opposite. Worn sorrow, breaking in disastrous mirth, and wild tears wept of laughter, like the drops, shook by the trampling thunder to the earth, and each seems either or but a counterfeit of that it would dissemble. Hopes are fears, and love is woe, nor here the discord stops, but through all human life runs the account, born into pain and ending bitterly, yet sweet perchance between time, like a fount that rises salt and freshens to the sea.
So I was sort of following a trail that kind of loops out farther, but we're really at the end of the ridge. There's the end of the ridge that I saw from the highway, which you can hear. The loop actually goes farther down. I don't know if you can, no, not really, but down in the valley here, there's, looks like some houses, some roads and stuff. I don't know, I didn't come for the houses and the roads really. I mean, it's part of hiking in Massachusetts. You get these pretty views, you get these crazy rock formations, fun scrambles everywhere, but there's also a ton of people. So what I'll probably do is actually retrace my steps because it's not raining anymore and the view is just coming out. So I'd like to go back to some of those spots I complained about earlier. And I'm also looking forward to the actual poet's seat.
Sonnet 26. For nature, daily through her grand design, breathes contradiction where she seems most clear. For I have held of her the gift to hear, and felt, indeed, endowed of sense divine, when I have found by guarded insight fine cold April flowers in the green end of June, and thought myself possessed of nature's ear, when by the lonely millbrook into mine, seated on slab or trunk asunder sawn, the nighthawk blew his horn at sunny noon, and in the rainy midnight I have heard the ground sparrow's long twitter from the pine, and the catbird's silver song, the wakeful bird that to the lighted window sings for dawn.
Well, the weather has improved and the people are out now. So I'm trying to figure out how much alone time I can get. That first part of the walk was fabulous though. So I'm debating whether to go straight up this road to the poet's seat or to take this side trail. One's easier. I could take off my spikes. No people, or fewer people. And I think fewer people is gonna win. You just see the tower over there. But I just thought I would take a minute because of this fabulous view.
In the early 20th century, Tuckerman was rediscovered, or at least he was sort of rediscovered. He was mostly actually discovered for the first time. But that discovery was pretty brief too. At least it got him a monument. Though I have to say, as I approached it, I wasn't terribly impressed.
Let's go on up. See what we can see. It's as far as up as they're letting us go today, so more detritus, just like the last tower, but still kind of neat. That's our road home. So this is as good a place as any, I think, to wrap up. I've been thinking a lot about Tuckerman the last few days. In a way, he's a fairly tragic figure, or not super tragic, but at least troubling. He was grumpy a lot of the time, very sensitive guy, retreated from the world out here to Deerfield. I'm sure that they would object to thinking that this was a retreat from the world, but I think it was then. And relatively unknown as a poet, which, you know, poetry was clearly important to him. He was pretty good at it. But I think also, like, you know, you come to this tower, which is his only monument, and you think, this is kind of what he'd want. Some weird 19th century castle, folly castle, really, just sticking out on a ledge, overlooking the town that he lived in. You know, we don't know if he ever really wanted to be a famous poet. He certainly didn't act like it. Publishing his one book, not really doing a lot of promotion. Maybe he just wanted to be left alone to do his own thing and his own art. And that sounds pretty romantic too. So maybe in the end he got what he wanted. I certainly hope so. Anyway, quite a hike today. I'm cold, I'm wet. I lost some things on the trail, and I'm going to backtrack a little bit to see if I can find them. And thanks for coming. Bye.
Maybe it is because he died at 52, or maybe it is because his observation of nature is what I am into these days. But I have been reading his one book fairly closely lately. If you're into it, you can find it for free online. Maybe a moody, reclusive, never quite famous poet from the 19th century can become never quite famous again.